Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday, and welcome to this educational presentation where today I want to talk about identifying high probability short-term trade setups. I know a lot of traders like to trade longer term, maybe they like to trade intermediate to longer term, but having the ability to trade short term with some consistency will help you, especially in markets like these. For example, take a look at this chart here in DWAC. Let's say you were interested in this stock. You were thinking that it's going to go up according to your analysis or your system that you bought. It's supposed to go higher and you think you're going to do well. And then one day you come home and you see that it's had a really nice up move. So this is your signal that most likely it's going to take off to the upside. So you decide to step in and buy it on the close there, okay? You're all excited. You think you're going to make a nice quick 10 or 20 points off it, according to your analysis. And then this happens the very next day. This is what happens a lot to traders. They scare themselves when it doesn't go their way. So you say, listen, I've lost 8, 9 points. I'm not going to lose more. Maybe I got in too early. Maybe I jumped the gun. So I'm going to exit. All right. So that's when you get out of the trade with a loss. And then this happens, right? Does that look familiar to anybody? Happens all the time, right? Well, with the process I'm going to be sharing with you today, the day you actually would have sold would have been the day a buy signal was generated. And therefore, you could have potentially taken advantage of a 36-point gain in just 6 days. You're going to see how simple this process is to apply because it's one click away on our platform, the PTS Primo charting platform. This is the educational platform that actually teaches you how to identify and trade these short-term signals. So welcome to this educational presentation. My name is Stephen Primo. I'm the president and founder of Specialist Trading. Now, I've been trading for roughly 45 years now, starting in January. It's 45 years. I started my career on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I was on the floor for 16 years, and 9 of them I was a specialist. That's where we get the name Specialist Trading. I know a lot of you aren't familiar with what a specialist is. Doesn't mean you're any more special than any other trader. But in the old days, if you ever Google those pictures of the trading floor where the guy's making the weird hand signals and all the paper on the floor, the specialists were those traders behind those large wooden podiums. And they were the ones that if you wanted to buy or sell a stock, you would call up your stockbroker. Then there was no intranet in those days, no high-speed electronic trading. So your stockbroker would in turn call the floor broker. The floor broker would take your order and then walk up to the trader who specialized in making a market in that specific equity. So that's what I did. I was a specialist, like I said, for 9 years. I made markets in IBM at times. I made markets in US Air, Waste Management, and I traded through the crash of 1987 being a specialist. So I've seen and traded just about every technique or system or new strategy that you can think of. I've traded every market environment, straight up, straight down. So in my 45 years of experience, I know what works in terms of consistency, and I know what doesn't work at all. So that's why I started Specialist Trading with Pro Trader Strategies. We teamed up together and we just simply educate you as a trader so that you can make your own decisions. This is what our goal is, to educate you so that you can be in the driver's seat, so that you can be in charge of your own trading destiny. And you'll see that today in today's educational presentation. Now, before we begin today, we're required to share this with you, so please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results using this technique and this method, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. Also, please remember, since we are first and foremost an educational company, all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Another way to get education on a daily basis from us is to follow us on Twitter. There's our handle right there, abbreviation for Specialist Trading. I would suggest copying that down, excuse me, because every day I post different strategy signals, different little bits of education along with financial wisdom. So there's a lot of great free education on a daily basis. So please, if you haven't done so already, please feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, as I stated in the opening statements, we are a little bit different from other webinars you may have attended in that we are first and foremost an educational company. In fact, that's our only goal. It's my opinion that the reason why most traders fail is because you're giving your power away. You're letting someone or something else make your trading decisions for you. Now think of it. How do you make your trading decisions? Do you have a system that you took some $10,000 course that automatically spits out buy and sell orders for you? Do you wait for the news to come out and that tells you whether you should be buying or selling? You go to a chat room or a trading room where the person in there tells you what to buy or sell. You listen to the gurus on TV every day after. And remember, that's the way most traders trade, okay? Myself included. When I first started trading, this is the way I was taught to trade. You have to get your orders or your information from someone or something else. But think of it. It's been estimated that 80 to 85% of all traders fail. So if 80 to 85% of all traders fail, and if most traders are getting their signals from somewhere or something else, then obviously that doesn't work very well. There's no consistency in that way. So I finally learned through my mentors that the only way to really be a consistent trader is to make your own trading decisions. Sure, you can learn from these so-called gurus or learn from that strategy that you purchase, but basically you have to be in charge. I never, the traders I know who are still trading, never listen to anyone or anything else tell them what they think about the market or a particular market they're trading. You have a plan in place and you stick to it because you know it's highly consistent. Therefore, as a mentor, my goal is not to force feed you signals, not to tell you what the perfect market is, the perfect time frame, or how many shares you should be purchasing or selling. My goal as an educator, as a mentor, is simply to do the same thing my mentors did to me, and that's teach you how to trade with the specialist edge. Now, this was the same edge that was taught to me some 45 years ago and what has sustained me for that amount of time. So hopefully my teaching, my mentoring will be able to do the same for you. Now, before we begin today's educational class, just a few announcements. I know that some of you think that this is an interactive type presentation with cameras and microphones. No, this is just a static PowerPoint educational presentation. So please kindly disable all your cameras and microphones, okay? So we don't have to interrupt the class. I see some of you have already come on with your cameras. That's okay, you didn't know. But there won't be any interactive process here with each of us talking to each other. This is just an interactive, I should say, this is just a PowerPoint presentation, but I will take your questions at the very end. So if you have any questions, please write them down or try to remember them. I promise I will get to each and every one of your questions at the end. Also, this presentation is being recorded. If you have to leave early or if you're having technical issues, many times if you just log off and log back on again, it's because it's your internet connection that's giving you the problems. But if you're still having issues, don't worry. This is being recorded and each and every one of you will be sent a link to this recording at the end of today's presentation, okay? So remember, please ask the questions at the end. I promise I'll get to them and I'll have a great offer for you as well. And please, if you have a camera or a microphone, please disable it right now and we can begin today's presentation. All right, with that stated, let's begin. And what we're going to be talking about today, the strategy that I'm going to share with you that really highlights these short-term setups is strategy number 10. This is a great strategy. We have rave testimonials about it from our students. And let me share with you some of the highlights of this particular method. First of all, it's specialist trading's only short-term strategy. Now, I know a lot of you say, well, Steve, I'm not a short-term trader. I don't just get in and get out. That's not what we mean by a short-term strategy. When we say short-term, we mean that all of the requirements, all of the rules in this method are based on short-term methods or techniques. Nothing is based on a longer or overall time frame. In other words, you can trade it on a weekly bar, you can trade it on a monthly bar, but all the requirements are based on short-term requirements. This means that we're not applying the buy-sell line to determine the trend. Now, if you followed me before, the buy-sell line tells us what the overall trend is, and we incorporate it in all of our methods. But guess what? All of our methods except strategy number 10, because strategy 10 is just based on short-term requirements. Now, it's a combination indicator-based pattern recognition strategy. And this goes against everything we've done before as well, because mostly we'll have a method that's based solely on indicators, or we'll have another method that's based solely on a pattern. But here we've combined the two, all right? Now, most trades are designed to last 1 to 5 days, but we also teach you in the course how to stay in weeks or even months if you'd like to. So don't feel as if this is just for a short, quick in and out trade. Now, because of this short term though, and because it's designed to buy at lower levels and sell at higher levels, it makes it ideal for option trading. If you're buying at a lower level, well, obviously the premium price will go down. And so a lot of our option students love to trade strategy number 10. Now we have two versions with this particular method. Most of our methods have just one. We have two. We have an aggressive version, which gets you in aggressively and out aggressively, or a conservative version, which monitors your risk. So depending, once again, on which type of trader you are, it's your decision as to what you want to buy or sell, or which version you actually want to trade. Now, I know a lot of you would say, well, Steve, once again, I'm not a short-term trader. I'm more of an investor or even a swing trader. So I'm really not sure that a short-term method or requirements on short-term would suit me. Well, here's one thing to think of. We know that the market has been acting very poorly as of late. I know it's rallying now, but just for now. But overall, the last couple of weeks have been very negative. What if we go into a sustained downward market? If you're a long-term investor or a swing trader, most of the time you have long positions. What strategy number 10 could do for you is offset those long-term investments. So if you want to hold on, even if the market continues to go lower, you can use this to offset it, to make little trades here and there to offset the losses that you may be experiencing in your longer-term investments. Now, lastly, our edge at specialist trading, not only with strategy 10, but with all of our methods, is consistency. Now, consistency does not, I repeat, it does not mean that you have more winners than losers. Consistency actually means an awareness of losses, but a consistent method is one that is able to recoup those losses rather quickly. So that's what you want by a consistent method. You see, most methods are not consistent. They're meant to go after these home runs, these large, big trades, and that's how they sell these students, because you see that holy grail and your eyes light up like, wow, look how much money this made last month, okay? But then again, they can go into a series of losses where they give back everything. Now, that's not a consistent method. A consistent method is one that has a two-step forward, one-step back approach. And that approach is what will sustain you. Now, a fly-by-night aggressive method, sure, may look great, but maybe it'll work for a year, maybe it'll work for a couple of years, but over time they won't work and you're right back where you started. You gave all your money back. A consistent method is designed to have you trading not only a couple of good years, but maybe a decade or two. Now let's talk about the process of strategy number 10. Unfortunately, it's an extremely simple process. Therefore, I can't give away all the rules, but I can share with you some of the requirements, okay? Firstly, remember, since it's based on short-term requirements, we're not going to use our standard buy-sell line to tell us the trend. So therefore, if we're not looking for the overall trend, we want to find the short-term trend. How are we going to do that? By using the best tool I know of to dictate the short-term trend, and that's the PET-D. Now, if you're not familiar with what the PET-D is, it's a tool that, once again, I was introduced to on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange some 40 years ago. But at that time, we had to, calculate it by hand on hand calculators. Here's the good news. We've developed it into a proprietary color bar algorithm. So let's take a look at this older chart of Aetna, okay? As you can see here, oh, it's going straight up. Unfortunately, most traders and most trend techniques will determine that you're in an uptrend somewhere around here. And by the time you figure out you're in an uptrend, look what happens, okay? We need something that's a lot more sensitive. Now, we're not going to try and predict the tops or bottom. We just want it to be more sensitive. And that's what the PET-D does. It's a color bar algorithm that once you apply it, it will turn bars green when it discerns that you're in an uptrend, and it will color them red when you're in a downtrend. So you see how we knew well in advance that we were in an uptrend, and we knew well in advance when the market changed directions. So as it says, in my over 4 decades of trading, the PET-D is the best tool I found for capturing the short-term trend. So this is what we're going to apply to our trading to tell us whether we're in a short-term uptrend or a short-term downtrend. Now, here's the process. If we're looking to buy, obviously the bars will be colored green. That's the short-term uptrend. But this method now identifies a shallow pullback. Now that's a 1 to 3 day pause or a sell-off in a short-term uptrend. So we're going to look for a selling opportunity in price while the bars are colored green. Now for sells, it's the opposite. The method identifies a shallow pullback, this time to the upside. So that means a 1 to 3 day bounce, a pause or a bounce in a short-term downtrend. Therefore, the bars will be colored red. All of them will be colored red, but we'll have a 1 to 3 day either pause or bounce. That's how sensitive this is. But let's go over the process, okay? Now, these are older charts just so you can understand the process. Then we'll show you some more recent ones. Here's an older chart of BMCH, okay? Most traders, myself included, when I first started, would look at this and say, well, not much to go off here, but as we see, that's a shooting star. That's a negative candlestick pattern. And then with the next day, we have a bearish engulfing pattern. So these are two negative things. So I'm going to decide to sell, okay? Sounds logical, right? And most traders would say, yeah, and maybe it's a little overbought. But what does the short-term trend tell us? Well, all we have to do on our platform is click on the PET-D. The PET-D will automatically change the bars either to green or red. So let's see what color they are. Well, they're all green. Even though these 2 days were down, which we based our sell signal off of, they're colored green. So that means they're just down days in a short-term uptrend. So rather than sell, we never want to sell against the short-term uptrend. We want to look to see if there's a sell, or I should say a buying opportunity here, because the short-term trend is up. Okay. Now, in our course, we teach you exactly what to look for. This is not a black box. You know exactly what the rules are. But just to check your work on our platform, you click on Strategy 10, click on Signal Arrows in the drop-down menu to see if you were right. And guess what? You were right. There was a buy signal. So the day after you would have sold, thinking it's going lower, is the day you would have been purchasing with strategy number 10, and you have a nice little weekly or so rally, okay? Now, it's not a lot, but let's say you held on a little bit more, and look what happened the next couple of days. Starts to go down again. But as the prices are closing lower, what color are the bars? They're all green. So even though we're selling off, this is just a sell-off in a short-term uptrend. You see, most traders would look at this and say, well, we're rolling over, look at consecutive closes that are lower, but the market is telling you we're still in an uptrend. Now, you think you may see some buy signals here, so you check your work, click on Strategy 10, Signal Arrows, and guess what? You're right. You're learning how to identify signals. For the first time, you're making your own decisions, and guess what? Had you held on, that was a nice 12-point gain. And look how the market gapped up. Someone would say, well, how did you know it was going to gap up? It went off news, and you say you don't follow the news. Well, because the market was telling us the entire time it was in a short-term uptrend, and the rules were stating that it wanted to go higher. Let's look at another example here, DAO. This is an older chart. Someone looking at this would say, well, yeah, Steve, we've been going down, but it's really oversold. That chat room I go to says that there's major support here. There's so many institutions where all the big money is, they want to buy. So that's major support. It's tremendously oversold. And on top of that, we have a bullish engulfing pattern. So I'm sorry, but there's tons of signals here telling me to go long. So you decide to jump in and buy on the very next bar, okay? This is why most traders fail. You're basing your decisions off of things that aren't consistent, or they really don't show a lot of consistency over time. Or you're listening to someone or something else. You're not listening to the one thing you should be listening to, which is the market, the chart in front of you. So what is it telling us? Well, let's press up the PET-D, our translator for the short term, click it on, and we see that going back here, it's telling us we're in a short-term downtrend. Now, do we want to buy in a downtrend? No, we only want to be a seller in a downtrend. So we're not going to buy here at all. Now, going back to our rules of strategy number 10, which we're learning, we say, well, you know what? I think I see a number of sell signals here. Click on strategy number 10, click on in the drop-down menu signal arrows to check your work. And you are right, total of 3 sell signals. So where you or most traders thought this is oversold, there's major support here and the institutions are buying, and that guy in the chat room told me to buy it. Now that you're relying on your own process, you know to be a seller. And potentially you could have captured 17 points. Now, what happened to all the great support? What happened to the bullish engulfing pattern? You always want to be in sync with the trend, regardless if it's longer term or short term. Okay, so once again, more signals are generated, even if you miss those. Now, that's the process. Very simple, very orderly. You know how simple it is, but simple things work better than more complicated things in my experience. Let's share with you some strategy number 10 signals that happened within the last month. Some of them happened within this last week, okay? Just to show you that if you were a strategy 10 course member, you could have taken advantage of these just within the last month. Let's start with buy signals. All right, here we have Amgen, all right? Now it's been going up, and then it kind of has 2 little sell-offs right here, as you can see, kind of sideways to down. These are simply pullbacks. Why are they pullbacks? Because the bars are all green. We had a down day here, another down day here, but it's green. And we have another down day here. So we have two sets of pullbacks. Now, that's not just enough for us to say, well, we have a down day and it's green, I guess I should buy. No, we need some structure. And that's the form of strategy number 10. Now, once you see that strategy number 10, all the rules and requirements have come into play, well, then we see that there are two buy signals right here. And in the next week, coming into this week, this last Friday, it was up 10 points. Here's another example in VRTX, all right? All the bars are green. Obviously, when we're going up, it's green, but look what happened here. We seem to be going sideways to lower. Once again, this is just simply a pullback. We have a number of days that close down, but what color are they? They're green. Now, as long as all the rules and requirements are met, strategy number 10 will generate a buy signal, which it did. It generated two of them. Now, here's what we mean by consistency. Had you bought right here, most likely you would have been stopped out with a loss, okay? Now, most traders would say, hey, this doesn't work. My first trade is a loss. It's a loser. Well, this is what we mean by consistency. The consistent methods are the ones that are able to recoup those losses. So let's say you took a small loss on this first signal, but you got back on the next one. You could have recouped that with potentially making 12 points. This is what will sustain you, a consistent method. Now, I know a lot of traders say, well, Steve, news always gets in the way. I can't tell you how many times I bought and then news comes out and it's terrible and I lose a lot of money, or I get out of something and then news comes out and then it goes straight up and I missed it all. Well, we're not going to tell you that, this is 100% foolproof. As I just said, it's very consistent. But it's been my experience that most of our techniques and methods and strategies are in sync with the news even prior to the announcement. Let me share with you what I mean. Here's a chart, or I should say, here's an announcement in Cerner that happened just about a month ago. Cerner gains on report, Oracle in talks to acquire for $30 billion. Okay. Now, Oracle, ORCL, is said to be in discussions to purchase the medical records company, Cerner, CERN, and it's subject of takeover speculation. Now, look when this came out, when the news came out of this buyout, December 17th. If we look at the chart in CERN, this is when the news came out. Now, here's what a lot of traders do. They'll see the positive news and they'll say, well, gosh, that's great news. It's going to get bought out. And what I've been reading and what that guy said on TV is that there's going to be even a higher bid. So maybe I'll buy it here. And in the following weeks, maybe you would have made an extra 3 or 4 points. Okay. But wouldn't you have liked to have bought somewhere down here? Wouldn't that have been the most opportune place to buy? Well, let's see what the market was telling us. Our translator, the PET D. Remember, it translates if you're in a long-term, or I should say, if you're in a short-term uptrend or short-term downtrend. So we apply the PET D, and we see that it started turning green well in advance of any buyout news announcement. Now, right here, it had kind of a sideways, a pause, okay? We click on and we see that a buy signal was generated on the 9th, about a full week in advance of that news. Had you potentially taken that trade, you could have potentially made 18 points when that news was announced. So this is just something that I personally have seen over time that happens more often than being on the wrong side. But we're not going to promise you that every trade is on the right side, but we see it happening over and over again. This just happened, like I said, a month ago. Now, remember that chart we shared with you at the opening of the presentation? Okay, let's say you were interested, you saw this nice little spike up this day, and you say, wow, that's my signal to get in. That trading guru who talks every day after the market close really likes this stock, so I'm going to buy right here. So you jump in and buy, and then the very next day, you've already got like about an 8 or 9 point loss. So you scare yourself, you say, wow, okay, I can't take this loss. What if it goes real lower? What if I just got faked out? So you exit with a loss, all right? How would you have done using the strategy number 10 process? Well, the first thing we want to do is find the short-term trend. Once we add and apply the PET D, we see that we have, red here, red, green. But in this little 2-bar period here, based off short-term requirements, on this sell-off, all the requirements were met for a pullback. And since it was a pullback, we apply strategy number 10, and we see that a buy signal was generated. So on the 7th of January, this was just a little over a week ago, a buy signal was generated in DWAC, and potentially you could have captured 36 points coming in to this last week. Okay, this was taken up until yesterday, I believe. So this is happening all the time. I'm not going to say you're always going to make 36 points, or potentially. Some of our students like to get in and out and make a couple of points and they're done. Others like to stay in as long as possible and see how much profit they can squeeze out. Remember, you're in charge. The good news is we give you several different variable ways in which to exit or which to enter or which to place your stop so that you can make your own trading decisions. All right, we looked at buy setups. Let's look at some sell signals that happened within the last month. Most of these actually happened within the last couple of weeks. As we look at TMUS, we see that even though we kind of went down and looked like we're going to bounce, most traders would say, well, gosh, we had a bounce here. This looks like it's making a bottom. All the bars are colored red, even when we had an update. What's the outline of this bar? It's red. So it's telling you you have an update in a short-term downtrend. So you don't want to go against the trend. Now, on top of that, the requirements were met for a pullback. We have either a pause or a little 1 to 3 day bounce. So we have a sell signal generated here. Strategy number 10 sell signal was generated on the 5th. And in about 3 days, you could have potentially made 11 points. Okay, not a bad little quick trade. How about right here in VRSM, Verizon? Once again, looks like we made a bottom, right? Some traders would say, hey, Steve, this is major support, but this is just a pullback because we're all red. These are 3 up closes in a row. But what is the outline? They're all outlined red. The PET D is telling you that the trend is down. Therefore, you look for sell signals. One was generated right here. And in the next 2 days, coming into last Friday, that's 13 points in 2 days. I'm sure this stock is down much lower coming into today as well. Let's look at DocuSign, okay? Same process here. Looks like going down, and most traders would say, hey, Steve, that's a reversal pattern. Look at, we bounced right there, closed towards the high, and now we went higher the next day. Well, what color are all of these bars? They're all either red or outlined red. A sell signal was generated, and on the 11th, you could have sold and potentially made 14 points in 2 days. Now, the next 2, I believe, signals were on the 12th. That was just last Wednesday, a week ago today. Sell signal was generated, 27 points coming into last Friday in 2 days. And then as we look at DXCM, we see that the same process in Dexcom. We had a nice rally here. Most traders would say, well, Steve, this is an uptrend, right? Well, what color are the up bars? They're all colored red. So this is a selling opportunity. It's not a buying opportunity. This is why most traders lose money. You're out of sync with the trend. So the short-term trend is telling you, yeah, even though we may be closing higher every day, the bars are red. It's a short-term bounce in a short-term downtrend. So you look to see if any of the requirements are met for a strategy 10 signal. And yes, right here they were. So on the 12th, last week, you could have sold and in 2 days potentially made 50 points, okay? This is how simple this process is. Now, I know a lot of students say, well, how do you know where to exit? How do you know where to take profits? Well, this is just one of the different exit levels that we teach out of, I believe, 7 separate exit levels and exit techniques. Here's just one that let me share with you on how you could apply this on our platform. These are older charts. Here's an older chart in Microsoft. A buy signal was generated here. All you have to do is click on the arrow and you automatically see these 4 exit levels appear. All right. Now, if you are a trader who likes to get in and out quickly, you'd most likely exit at the 1st or 2nd. If you're a trader that likes to get as much bang for your buck, you'd exit at the 3rd or 4th. Okay. Let's say we decided to exit here at the 4th level. Well, in the following 4 days, we could have exited and made about 17 points. Not a bad little trade in 4 days, right? Now, it didn't go down right off the bat, but look what happened after that. Do you see why these exit levels are so important? That's why we always instruct our students, especially the new ones, to exit your entire position at the 4th level. Now, that's just if you like to use this method. There are other exit levels that we have that will keep you in the trade longer or protect you in many different ways. Here's an example now in letter W. Buy signal was generated. Here are the 4 exit levels. Let's say we wanted to exit at the 4th level again. Once again, in 1 week, you could have potentially made 40 points, about 10% of the price. And then look what happened after that. This works to the downside as well. If we go into a sustained down move in the market, here was a sell signal in Lumia. As you can see, the 4 levels were generated. You can pick whatever one you want. It's up to you. In 2 days or 3 days, I should say, you could have potentially made 3 points. And look what happened after that. Started bouncing right back up. So this is a great technique. It's exclusively on our platform. You won't find it anywhere else. It's auto-generated for you as well. Okay, let's recap before we go into questions and answers, all right? Remember, let's talk about the process. In order to find the short-term trend, you must apply the PET-D. The PET-D is the best tool I know of. I use it on a daily basis in my own personal trading to trade and to discern what the short-term trend is. Now, if a buy signal is generated, it's basically identifying a shallow pullback. That's a 1 to 3 day pause or sell-off while the bars are all green. Now, in a sell format, this method identifies a shallow pullback, or in other words, a 1 to 3 day pause or a bounce in a short-term downtrend while the bars are red. So ask yourself, do you think this short-term strategy could help your trading in 2022? Remember, if we go into some type of sustained downward move, you'll get plenty of sell signals where you could maybe purchase options to go short to offset your long-term strategies. That way you don't have to exit your longer-term method. Or you could just use it as a trading vehicle. Just add it on to your trading plan as one more technique to help you become a consistent trader. Okay, let me tell you about today's attendee discount. This is a great offer we have for all of you today for taking your time out of your Wednesday to come hear me speak. We're going to offer you strategy number 10, our short-term trend trader, with another great bonus. Now, this strategy number 10, it's an entirely new short-term strategy that applies the PET-D. It's a combo indicator pattern-based method. You'll get the complete course rules, how to trade either aggressively or conservatively. And you can apply options to this as well. But we're actually throwing in another bonus because everything you saw here today was displayed using our platform. That's how you make it simple. By just one click, you can see where the PET-D are coloring the bars. By one click, you can see where the signals are. So because of that, we're going to throw in a full year of the PTS Primo charts absolutely free. This is a great offer. We're going to throw in a full year of the platform. Now, with the platform, you're not only going to get the PET-D along with strategy number 10 signals, but you'll get other features like our strength of trend tool. That's a great feature that automatically tells you whether a trend is running out of steam or not. You'll get automatic exit levels that I just shared with you and just personalized tech support as well. But here's one of the best things. You can scan for these setups on a nightly basis using our signal scanner. Let me share with you what I mean here. And let me show you how simple it is. Once you click up the strategy number 10 drop-down menu, you'll see where it also says it has a little link for scanning. Just click that on and this page will appear. Now, as you can see, it says strategy number 10. Right here in the left corner, you just load the symbols, whatever symbol you want, symbol list you want. So if you want to look at cryptocurrencies, if you want to look at futures, if you want to look at forex markets, if you want to look at the NASDAQ, as we have here, we punched up the NASDAQ. And in a matter of seconds, you'll see the spreadsheet of all the stocks in the NASDAQ. Then you just click on scan. And then you'll see a series of green or red bars. Now, the green bars simply mean that those are buy setups. The red bars mean that those are the corresponding sell signals, okay, sell setups. Now, here's how it would look in this older chart here of ALLO. You would have seen a sell signal generated. You could have potentially taken advantage of that. And look what happened the next day, 11 points in one day. Now, let's say you were a student of the strategy number 10 course and were scanning. Let's say you were scanning on the 3rd, okay? 5 minutes before the close, you could have said, you know what, I'm going to do a scan here. And you saw that there was a buy signal in Checkpoint Software, CHKP. So you could have decided, well, I'm going to buy the options. I'm going to buy some calls, maybe a spread, or maybe I'll just outright buy the stock. Either way, this was a valid buy signal, strategy number 10. And prior to even getting into trade, you could have seen where the exit levels were. Let's say that you wanted to get out at the 4th and final exit using this method. So you place a limit order to exit here. Well, look at in the next week, coming up to, I believe, just last week, Thursday or Friday, you could have exited with a 12-point gain. This just happened this last week, okay, in the last week or so. So this is happening all the time. You know, so many times I'll go to webinars myself, or I'll see other people speaking, and they'll give these great examples like this, and they'll show you how great it works. And then you look at the date, and it was like 5 years ago. we like to show you things that are happening currently, that happened within the last month, sometimes within the last week, like you see here. So this is the process that you can take advantage of with strategy number 10 and with our platform. So let's break it down, okay? Remember, you're going to get all these things as well as strategy number 10, as well as the platform. Now, if we break down the price, normally this would cost close to $5,000 with the Pet D, but we're not going to charge you that. We're discounting it down to $44.95. Now you're going to save 10%, $500 off that. Now we know a lot of you already have the Pet D. So if you already have the Pet D, then normally the price would be $34.95. We're going to drop that down to $500 more, down to $29.95. Now here's the best thing about this. Not only are you going to get the platform with this, but we can also establish a payment plan. So if you don't have $44.95 or $29.95, for a small deposit, you can still be up and running. You don't have to come up with those lump sums if you can't make it right now. And remember, regardless if you pay in full or if you establish a payment plan, this comes with a full year of the platform. With all the other techniques and methods that I've accumulated in 45 years that are on the platform, you won't find anywhere else. These are all things taken from the floor, taken from my 45 years of trading that just are solely akin to the PTS Primo charting platform. Take your trading to the next level in 2022 with strategy number 10. If you're struggling, if you're really finding trading difficult and finding it very difficult to follow the so-called trading gurus or the guys in the on TV or in the chat rooms that you have, they're not really generating the setups and the type of results that you thought, come on board with specialist trading and with strategy number 10. I'll be there with you every step of the way. Here's how to take advantage of this great offer. Remember, you can establish a payment plan with Pro Trader Strategies. They're my sister site. I would recommend calling them directly at area code 310-598-6677. They have trading consultants manning the phones right now as I speak. They would be more than happy to give you a quote for a some type of plan that you could work with. And there's no obligation. If you want to ask them, they're not going to try and sell you anything. They'd be more than happy just to give you a quote and tell you what's included and what the payment plan would be. Okay. Now, if you want more information, or if you want to sign up online, that link you see at the very bottom right here is the link that will take you to that info page. It's not a live link though, but if you notice on the chat box, we've just posted a live link there. So you can just click that on and we'll automatically open up a fresh browser. Now, I promised you I would be answering any questions that you may have. So please, if you do have questions, kindly go to the chat box and type them in. I promise I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Someone's asking, I notice you only applied this to stocks. Can it be applied to other markets? Yes, it can. Our main source of students are stock traders. That's why we focused on this. And I apologize if you trade other markets. I personally trade a lot of E-mini markets, intraday E-minis. Strategy 10 can be applied intraday. Excuse me. It can be applied to forex. I believe I tweeted a forex example this morning using strategy number 10. You can even apply it to cryptos or to commodities. So yes, it makes no difference. Wherever there is a short-term trend as defined by the Pet D and wherever the rules and requirements are met, a strategy 10 setup will be generated. All right. The strategy doesn't know whether it's signaling something in forex or whether it's signaling something in Bitcoin or whether it's signaling something in stocks. Okay. I hope that answered your question. Someone's asking what time frame is best for these trades. Well, once again, I'm not here to tell you what the best time frame is. Those are things you have to decide. Remember, most traders, that's okay. I'm not trying to correct you or anything, but this is the way we're taught. We're taught for someone to tell us what the best time frame is. The only thing I can say is with any strategy, it doesn't matter if it's one of mine, one of yours, someone else's, the smaller the time frame you go, the more you will have a lot of whipsaw action or a type of what we call noise, because you're going down to that smaller time frame. So I would just recommend for everyone not to go lower than, let's say, a 10-minute time frame right off the bat using strategy number 10. All right. Once again, though, it's up to you to decide. We have students that say, Steve, I love strategy number 10. It works great on weekly bars. That's the best time frame. And then I'll get the next day a testimonial from another student said, Steve, I love it. I use it on a 15-minute time frame or an hourly time frame, and it works the best I've ever seen. So it doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It means that you have to find what works best for you. That's why I never tell students what the best time frame is, because it's all subjective. Everyone trades differently. Someone may want 100 trades in a day. Someone may want one trade a month. So therefore, you have to pick the time frame that best suits those needs that you have. Okay, I hope that answers your question. My only real bit of advice would be just don't go too small of a time frame. That's all. Okay. Do we trade off your platform? I use Schwab with TradeStation. No, right now, we're currently pursuing options for ultimately being able to trade off our platform. But once again, our platform right now is just an educational one. So let me just share with you the way I do it. I have another platform that I make my trades off of. I was trading this morning. I had 2 trades this morning. But what I do is I look and set up my signals and see what the market's doing on the PTS Primo charts and look for setups. And then once I want to enter the order, I simply go onto my other platform to enter the orders. In your case, that would be TradeStation. And this is what most traders do. Most traders have more than one platform. Now, once again, we are looking for different options and ways in which to do that in the future, but we don't have that capability right now. So yes, the way you would do it is to study off of your PTS Primo charting platform for setups, for signals, and then simply use your other platform for entries. Okay, it's very common. That's the way I trade myself at this point. Good questions. Someone says, what is educational correspondence? Does that mean we get to talk to you live? Okay, educational correspondence is simply meaning that you will still be in contact with me. It doesn't mean that after you learn the method, we cut you off. You'll always be able to contact me via email. So you'll get my personal email address that only my students have, and you can contact me whenever you'd like. And when I say whenever, I really mean whenever. If it's 2 in the morning, I live on the West Coast. If it's on a weekend, if it's after the market close, makes no difference. You can contact me whenever you like. And usually I get back to my students within 24 hours, sometimes within the next 5 minutes if I have plenty of time. So you'll always be able to ask me a question. If you're wondering, if you're learning the process and you still don't understand, you can always contact me and we can go over different slides or different examples for you to understand, okay? So we're not like other, so-called educators where once you buy their $10,000 method, they say, well, thank you so much and we'll see you later. Or else they give you a phone number and it's an intern or someone who's just working there that really has no affiliation with the trading method. Well, we don't believe in that. Everything, every question, every inquiry you get about trading comes directly to me. It won't go to an intern, won't go to a salesperson, it will come directly to me, okay? Great questions. Any more as we get ready to close up here? Well, if there are no further questions, I just want to say, I hope you learned something today. Remember, we are first and foremost an educational company. And as you can see, we really give a lot of attention and detail to educating you. Remember, our philosophy is that our goal is simply to provide you with this education that has stood the test of time, consistent methods and techniques that have shown to work over time, and then work with you so that you can decide how you want to trade them. I often say it's like our methods or our courses are kind of like a buffet line, okay? Think of a buffet line when you go into a restaurant, a buffet restaurant, and everyone gets a meal, but not everyone gets the same meal, right? Someone may go to the buffet table and order a salad for their dinner. Someone may get a fish dinner or a steak. Then someone may order a different drink, maybe a soda, or someone may get an iced tea. Then someone will order a dessert and someone will not order a dessert. Either way, everyone is getting their satisfaction through the meal, but they're getting the meal the way they like it. It's the same way with trading. Trading should be that way. You're all seeing the same setup, but how you decide to enter, how you decide to exit, how you decide to place your stop is all up to you. That's the different buffet we have. And we share with you what they are, then you can choose and feel just exactly what is comfortable for you, okay? Now someone's asking, what is my email? I just purchased the Pet D yesterday. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate your patronage. Contact I can't give it out right now. It wouldn't be fair to all the people. Contact your trading consultant at Pro Trader Strategies, and they'll give you my private email, and you can email me right after this, okay? So as we close up, I just want to say thanks for taking time out of your Wednesday once again. And as we take one last look at our disclaimer, I really hope you learned something today. I hope you got a little insight into what our philosophy is about teaching, about trading. But more importantly, I really look forward to all of you becoming students of mine in the Strategy Number 10 course, okay? Hope we can elevate your trading in 2022. Have a great day and hope to see you in class. Bye-bye.